and welcome to our webinar, Disruptive Innovation Trends in the Medical PEEK Market. My name is Carolyn Lowell, and I'm the Chief Content Officer at BoneZone. Joining me today are Mark Nebel and Matthew Cantwell of Evonik. Evonik is a global leader in the design, development, and manufacture of high-performance polymers for medical device applications. Their medical polymers portfolio includes bioresorbable, permanent implant, and temporary contact materials for medical device technologies. And included in that broad medical portfolio is their globally recognized brand VestaKeep PEEK, which is a polymer favored by many OEMs for developing implant devices for the orthopedic, spine, sports medicine, and extremities markets. Both of our speakers have extensive experience with PEEK and VestaKeep, and you will be hearing much about those materials here in the coming hour. So please let me first introduce Mark and Matt, and then I will hand it over to them for their presentation. Since 2008, Mark Nebel has worked for Evonik's Smart Materials division in the business line of high-performance polymers. He developed and launched the product portfolio VestaKeep for implant and dental applications, and he is currently heading the global medical systems team. Matt Cantwell has been heavily focused on orthopedics since 2005, with an emphasis on the specification of PEEK beginning in 2009. In 2021, he joined the High Performance Polymers business line of Evonik as a business development manager, and he is currently responsible for the VestaKeep implant applications in North America. We are very excited to hear their presentation today, and with that, I will hand it over to the two of them to begin their presentation. Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you, Caroline, for this nice introduction, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to talk today about our disruptive innovation trends in the PEEK market. I mean, we are living in a world of change, and innovation is even more important than ever. And new technologies will lead to, let's say, disruptive innovation trends. And that's why we would like to give you a kind of glimpse of what Evonik is doing there. And but before we enter there in details of all these innovation trends, we would like to also explain a little bit more about Evonik. Evonik is a company with 33,000 people, so quite a interesting size. We are focused on specialty chemicals. We are profitable. We're a very profitable company with the sales of greater than $15 billion, and let's say a big part of our earnings is spent into innovation. To better understand Evonik and how we are structured, I would like to give you a short overview of the different divisions. So Evonik has 4 different divisions, and our division is Smart Materials, and we belong to High Performance Polymers. Now, within Evonik, there are other business lines which are also involved in the medical field, such as coating and additives, and as well as healthcare. And especially healthcare, you might have also some connections with, because within the healthcare group, there is a very famous product, which is Resomer, and this is a bioresorbable product. And vice versa, in our case, with our VestaKeep, we have a biostable product, and so that is, let's say, a very nice package what we can offer for the implant market, but next to that, also for medical devices, we have different materials such as Trogamid, Vestamid, and a bunch of other materials which are used in the medical device industry. Now, entering into, let's say, our high performance polymers of PEEK, I would like to give a short overview of the different segments where we focus on. And the strongest focus so far is really our VestaKeep implant approach, with a lot of different applications, also on a worldwide basis. So we can say we have approved medical implants all over the world. Next to that, there is a dental approach. Also there we are entering in very new fields of crowns and different other applications within the dental field. And then we have on the right side, you see VestaKeep Fusion, and this is a osteoconductive approach where we have a new material, our VestaKeep Fusion, which has improved osteoconductivity. Now, how we trigger our innovation is as follows. So we start really from trends from the medical industry, and there are multiple ones. And on these slides, we only picked a few out of them. And let's say the most recent one, or most actual one we are dealing with is point of care. So really to have the idea is really to have the implants printed or manufactured in very close to the patient, sometimes even in the hospital. Then digitization and robotics is another big trend, and metal-free and automating as well. So these global trends lead to certain topics we are focusing on, which is 3D printing, arthroplasty, and these osteoconductive materials. And from that, we provide the following solutions. So, for example, for the 3D printing, we developed a material which can be used for long-term implants. And this helps, let's say, to come to a new edge of medical implant manufacturing. The other thing is that we really would like also to enter in very new fields of the medical implant market, as for example, arthroplasty, which with improved, let's say, wear and still cost performance. So we want to improve performance with on a reasonable price. And the last point we selected for today's, let's say, disruptive innovations is our osteoconductive approach, where we not only provide stock shapes, we also investigated the market for injection molding and also for 3D printing.
Thank you, Mark. I'm going to start talking about the first of two topics that I'm going to speak about today. The first topic is VestaKeep Fusion. VestaKeep Fusion is the culmination of a project to deliver a superior PEEK-based polymer composite with improved rates and magnitude of bone formation. The images on the slide that you see here are just some of the scope that went into the development of this product. There were well over a dozen formulations that were considered that led to this final commercial formulation for IC 4800. That's the actual product number that for VestaKeep Fusion. A project like this starts probably a lot like many others, with a deep dive on available peer-reviewed and published literature, trying to understand, what is the standard of care, what's the gold standard when we look at osteoconductive materials, and really, what's going to be that next generation best osteoconductive compound, what that might look like. Compounding trials came next, leading to in vitro studies, and then those in vitro studies funneling into animal testing that really gave Evonik the data to move ahead with confidence to make commercially available this formulation of Vesta-Keep Fusion. So yeah, what you're seeing here is just some of the work: microstructure, biocompatibility, in vitro work, histology, medical imaging. Really, a lot of work that goes into developing a product like this. So, one of the major milestones of the project was to design a study to evaluate the osteoconductivity and the osteointegration of the PEEK composite, incorporating the biphasic calcium phosphate additive and compare it to virgin PEEK in a sheep model. So BCP, biphasic calcium phosphate, was the additive that we did choose after a lot of screening and thought and consultation. The extent of bone apposition and osteointegration was evaluated using radiology, biomechanical testing, as well as histology. The scope of the study was 12 animals, 4 implants per animal, with 2 time points at the 6 and 12 week time point. So histological analysis showed a 2x difference between Vesta-Keep Fusion and virgin PEEK at the 100 and 300 micron distance. So we take a look at the staining here. You see the implant. There's a hole in the implant to facilitate biomechanical testing, pull-out testing. Based on the diameter of the implant, we came off 100 microns, 300 microns, and 1 millimeter, and be able to assess what that trabecular bone area looked like at both the 6 and the 12 week time point. And the numbers we're seeing here are that 12 week time point. At 100 micron and 300 micron at the end of 3 months, we're seeing a significant difference, a statistically significant difference between fusion and virgin unfilled PEEK, and really consistent with what we see in titanium. Titanium obviously has a good reputation of on-growth, but it is a reactive material, and given a choice, some people prefer not to incorporate a metal implant into the human body. Pull-out testing or biomechanical testing was performed to assess, implant fixation, both at the 6 and 12 week time points. And I think when we see the 6 week time point, there's less of a difference at 6 weeks than 12 weeks. And I think it's probably more influenced potentially by the inflammatory response of a foreign body into the animal model. And what we see at the 12 week time point is really the apposition of the implant by bone, and the densification of bone and the resorption of bone. So what we're seeing really at the 12 week time point is going to be very, very representative. And we see a 2x difference between the unfilled PEEK versus Vesta-Keep Fusion. So in a nutshell, we saw a 2x increase in bone apposition at the 100 and 300 micron distance off of the implant, which would be the more relevant distance, and a twofold increase in implant fixation for fusion versus unfilled or version PEEK. And when we do assess under SCM or under high magnification, the osteoconductive, the biphasic calcium phosphate is present on the surfaces. So I think Evonik demonstrated a lot of scientific and manufacturing capability with the introduction of this product. It offers an impressive combination of robust material properties, available bioactive surfaces that can be processed in a number of different ways. It could be machined, could be molded, could be extruded. It really aren't limited in that way at all. And if we take a look at the mechanical properties, even though it is a compound, the physical performance properties meet the ASTM F 2026 mechanical specifications for implant grade PEEK. Because it's a compound, it doesn't meet that specification. But even with the additive, we haven't diluted its strength or robustness at all. So really did a nice job there.
Yeah. So Matt, thanks for let's say giving the overview of the VestaKeep Fusion based on stock shapes materials. However, we also wanted, let's say, to find out if this material and these effects of osteoconductivity would also be valid on injection molded parts, and therefore we cooperated with the company Arthroplasty in Switzerland, which for those who don't know them, they are very well let's say set up and dedicated also for the medical industry. And yeah, we established with them a white paper and try to create a sample cage which would not make sense at all as one single part. So it is not a cage, it is really a sample part which shows different access points which are possible to injection mold. So it should also, again, generate openness to switch from maybe a potential machining idea to say, oh, why don't we actually injection mold? Yeah, and so they did a great job in developing that in a, let's say, very short time. And yeah, we injection molded then our VestaKeep Fusion, and it worked out very perfectly. So as you can see here, for example, we made some SEM images, and we compared the images from outside and with also some inside images, and there you see actually perfect distribution of the particles, and you see the calcium on the surface, and so very homogeneous, very small particles, and no film formation. That was actually let's say something we wanted to show, and yeah, we were very satisfied with these pictures. And next to that, we also compared the osteoblast cell proliferation on machine parts with injection molded parts, and also there we let's say we didn't see a significant difference between these two processing techniques and manufacturing techniques. And as you also can see on the left side, the cells really like the surfaces, both of them. So yeah, very promising. Now going to from injection molding to 3D printing, then we can say, okay, we started there with three different, or actually with 4 different filaments. One for short-term contact, one as a testing grade, then the long-term implant filament, and our latest filament development is the Westerkeep Fusion IC 4800 3DF, and this is also because of the good results of the injection molded samples. We also expected to have this effect of osteoconductivity also on the printed surface. That's why we developed that filament and then did some tests on it. And based on these 3D printing equipment manufacturers, it is very clear that the results, the properties, the precision of the parts depends very much on the printer manufacturer. So therefore, we cooperated and provided our materials to different printer manufacturers, and also collected there some parts out of that. And so why 3D printing? I mean, it is very clear that if you have standard parts which can be machined, then the motivation to do 3D printing is actually very low. So big arguments for 3D printing is design of freedom. And you see here one part from Comovis with open structures, but for example also from Curitiba, who did provide some samples out of that, which look really great with open structures. So you see with this design, you cannot machine them and you cannot injection mold them. The other reason is point of care, patient-specific solutions. One single piece of parts. This really is asking for 3D printing, and CMF is there. Let's say the biggest market for that for the time being, and creates the highest interest. But there are also other parts which could be very interesting for this 3D printing technology. And the one other reason is really digitalization. So you can have a full digital workflow path from scanning, from modeling to printing, and this is really saving time and also saving mistakes, because everything is digital, and so there is a very high chance that you come to a very good result. One other advantage for sure, or also one other trend there, is robotic surgery, and on that field you really would like to see what you're doing, and therefore metal-free solutions which do not show some artifacts are really helpful on that. Now, on the next few slides, here you see some additional, let's say, samples, and which also were generated. And Comovis did here, for example, a great job in providing samples with different surfaces. On the top one, you see a part which is just printed with a very smooth surface, but also depending on your expectations and your requirements, you can, let's say, increase roughness by post-treatment technologies, for example, sandblasting, but also there are a lot of other possibilities available to generate or to open the structure and generate and modify, let's say, the surface roughness. But you also can, due to your printing strategy, also create a different structure. And on these parts, you see on the left-hand side, you see very slightly that light goes through the cage, so it's really an open structure. And yeah, on the image, you see very nicely printed lines. So these are the let's say, printing lines you see also on the cross section, and a very nice also distribution of the BCP, which is enhanced in our PEEK with a very homogeneous surface. Also there we did the osteoblast cell proliferation, and as you can see, a very nice adhesion of this osteoblasts on the surface, which show that the osteoconductivity, the BCP, is on the surface. And on the right-hand side on this chart, you see the improvement and increasement of the cell viability compared with the virgin PEEK and our VestaKeep Fusion after 72 hours.
Over the next couple of slides, I'm going to be talking about opportunities to replace metal and other polymers in tribological joint applications with PEEK. There are several PEEK knee clinical trials underway right now, with dozens of implantations so far, and with a growing number of patients coming and passing the 12-month time point without complications that have been reported to date. So, you know, Evonik's vision is to enable the next generation of improved PEEK implants to lower cost of goods. You know, we've engaged and are engaged with our OEM partners in North America, Europe, Asia. The slide shows some of the topics of conversations that we're having. Press fit designs are very interesting to clinicians and to OEMs alike. Confidence around durability is a real concern. Being able to leverage the Evonik's predictive engineering core competency is really very, very powerful. We're sharing wear data that's been generated with new and existing formulations of PEEK, material combination questions, being able to leverage Evonik's medical centers of excellence. We've got, Allentown, Pennsylvania, we have one. Another one, we've got one in Birmingham, Alabama, and as well in Germany. The short-term opportunities, the smaller projects will happen in Allentown. Medium to long could happen in Birmingham, but there's those long-term opportunities to really partner and develop these applications would happen in Germany. We've got significant capability around part design, mold design. We've got dedicated resources that work directly with our customers around these application developments. We've successfully, developed gear applications that are deployed commercially in the automotive industry that really showcase our tribological capability and prowess. And finally, Mark touched on it as well. Just the digital workflows and robotic surgeries, new ways of working with our patients and new ways of working in the OR. Really, really important. Here's some of the early screening data that was developed with Massachusetts General Hospital. It's clear that we've got two distinct commercially available PEEK polymers. One, the I4 polymer, it's a high molecular weight product, and it's probably 90–95% of what the market buys from a PEEK perspective, not only from Evonik, but from all the PEEK suppliers. But also we've got I5, which is it's an ultra high molecular weight PEEK that's not necessarily available from an implant perspective from anybody else. It's a real differentiator. And some of the physical properties that really distinguish itself from 90, 95%, 98% of the implant PEEK that's out there is its creep, resistance to creep, and its impact resistance. And because of those properties, it raises the question: is this a better opportunity to at least take a look at it for these wear applications? Both have great clinical history in the body. Full biocompatibility is available to support regulatory work. And final slide to talk about PEEK and joints, company Kion out of Europe. They showcase a ceramic head articulating against a PEEK cup. Literally, thousands and thousands of implantations successfully been done with great clinical results. And they're also showing a dual mobility hip cup system. There's a peer-reviewed and published paper showcasing 105 cases of this dual mobility hip for primarily for large dog breeds that are susceptible to the hip dislocation that really is addressed by the dual mobility hip systems. Really reduces the opportunity for that to happen. So that ends the few couple slides around PEEK used in hips and joints and knees. Really just showing you the types of conversations and the type of work that we can and are doing with our OEM and clinical partners. And that wraps up the presentation for today. Carolyn?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for such a wonderful presentation. A few questions to start with here. We do have a lot of different OEMs that are attending this webinar. How would one of them perhaps start a project with you? What does that look like?
Mark, would you like to take that, or want me to?
Take it.
Okay. I think it's always going to start with a conversation. We've got people in Asia, Europe, the US, competent, well-qualified people to understand the applications that our customers bring to us, and to be able to hold up our end of the conversation around some of the solutions that we have to offer. So it's always going to start with a conversation about needs and challenges, and what are those clinical needs? What are those challenges that can be addressed in a project? And I think it really that's usually the genesis of projects.
You demonstrated a lot of versatility with VestaKeep in many different applications. Can you share at all maybe where you're seeing the most interest right now, and perhaps where you see that headed in the next 5 or so years?
Mark, you want to take that, or?
Take it.
Okay. Sure. So definitely a lot of the existing and new business that we're seeing is kind of the business as usual. It's the fusion cages, sports medicine applications, but really the new conversations are around our new grades of product, and the different abilities to process them differently. So it's around best heat fusion. It's around being able to mold it. It's around being around to print it. 3D printing is such a hot topic, and people are trying to figure out what to do with it. And I think that the two grades that are available from us today are great examples of what you might be able to do with it, and there are further grades coming. So definitely around different ways of converting the material, different grades of the material, and applications outside the norm. Mark?
I mean, in that field, or let's say it like that, this material has now created a lot of trust in the industry. Yeah, so that opens also new ideas. So from you start with the first application, then the second one, and then you see it works, and then it creates new ideas. So actually, the list of applications, also new applications, is really really long and encouraging. Yeah, also in new fields, for example, drug delivery. So outside of spine and sports medicine, or outside orthopedics, we see in pharma applications popping up. So again, it's so we are really looking in a very positive future.
Great. So there are a few questions about specifically about applications. I guess I would just ask this one specific question. Do you see any new developments with trauma plates?
Yeah. Let's say it like that. So far in trauma plates based on virgin PEEK, where our virgin PEEK was not stiff enough for trauma plates, but now we are in development also of carbon fiber filled materials, as also for the 3D printing market. And the first results, or mechanical results, we saw here are very promising. So yeah, I would encourage anybody who wants to develop something like that to get in discussions with us, and let's talk about more details and requirements, and then we will see how we can help.
And another question is, are there opportunities for other synovial joints that could potentially use PEEK?
Yeah, I think there are a number of products that have been implanted. Things are being looked at. Shoulder, ankle, finger. Absolutely, the bone, the human body is an amazing, creation. Sometimes nature needs a little help, and that's it's always a consideration of where else can we bring benefit, and those areas are being looked at now. Yeah, absolutely.
Great. We have another individual who's very interested in knowing additional information about knee and hip. Specifically, how many humans maybe have been implanted, how far out are these, and what is, perhaps you can give us an understanding of the use US and OUS.
Yeah. To date, all implantations are OUS. Couple of dozen have been implanted, and in order of magnitude, and probably a dozen, again, order of magnitude, that are past that 1 year time point.
Okay. And what is your fiber reinforced offering? And does the high MW grade compete with reinforced grades by Evonik or potentially other competitors of yours?
I'll let Mark talk to the fiber reinforced offering, but yeah, just to answer that last part of the question, the high molecular weight, you're not going to see a big difference in the tensile strength between like an I4 and I5. They're both unfilled materials. Just the I5, by nature of its molecular weight, is going to demonstrate that improved impact strength and creep resistance. And you'll see that in product data sheets. But those two properties are pretty interesting. Not necessarily to a trauma application, because an unfilled material has some challenges in those applications. Definitely it's an uphill climb there. But for bearing applications, those two properties are very, very interesting.
Yeah, for the carbon fiber filled grades, I think we started again with a big screening. Yeah, so we tested different fiber lengths, different sizings, different manufacturers, and then funneled it down. So we produced them, we made filaments, and we even printed some samples, tested them, and yeah, the results are still very hot and brand new, and we would like to share it with anyone who is interested in these type of developments, to see if it can bring a solution.
And one last question, you talked quite a bit about 3D printing. Are there any 3D printed parts now in the US, or where does that stand?
There are 3D printed parts in US. There are different 3D printer manufacturers who work with medical device OEMs to submit actually their final parts, and we cross fingers that before the end of the year we will see some approved devices based on 3D printed filaments on Westerkeep.
And we're already seeing implantations in Europe and Asia, yeah, with 3D printed filament.
Excellent. Let's see here. I think we have one more question that has come in. Do all of the PEEK grades meet the ASTM standard for implantable PEEK?
I mean, this is actually a very difficult question to answer. Or actually, it's very easy to answer, because the standard is only valid for virgin grade materials, and so this is already described in the F 2026. So what we do is let's say we test our compounds or our new products according to this standard, and show results about it. But the standard is only valid for virgin PEEK material.
Okay. Well, I think that we will leave it there. Is there anything else, Mark, Matt, that you would like to say before we close?
No, I just would thank you, and it was a lot of fun, and thank you for giving us the opportunity to present today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Excellent. Well, thank you both for providing an excellent presentation, and I'm glad we had some great questions there at the end. So thank you so much, everybody, for attending, and I hope that you have a great day. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Yeah, bye.